So much for your time. As Elizabeth said there, I mean, people have been waiting 2 years for this trial to get started. Before we get into the strategies on both sides, what really stands out most to you so far in this case?
Well, just the dichotomy of the two stories, Nicole, they could not be more different. And we heard that in the opening statements today. So obviously the prosecution very focused on the acrimonious relationship between O'Keefe and the defendant. In addition to that, focused on some forensic evidence because this trial is going to be highly technical in the sense we're going to hear a lot of experts testify about both sides of the story. Now, the defense, they are using that third-party culprit defense, but the judge did not allow them to actually set out exactly what that means in opening statements. They said the judge said that you can establish it through the evidence that comes into the courtroom, but you're going to have to do just that and have those building blocks. So they talked about it in a broad way. But this idea of a conspiracy is going to have to be hashed out as the case goes on. So a lot to watch here. And again, a highly technical, expert-heavy case.
What is going to be the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle for her defense team?
For her defense team, these statements that were made, this is going to be a big problem because these are going to be seen as admissions. I hit him, and they're going to have to get around that. The other piece of this is convincing a jury of a conspiracy. It's complicated. A lot of times jurors are going to look at what makes the most sense from a common sense perspective. You don't leave common sense at the door. So convincing a jury that this was a widespread conspiracy, that's going to have some issues. And from a legal perspective, technically, you almost put the burden back on yourself as the defendant to lay that all out. So you don't have the burden as a defendant, the prosecution does. So you're sort of taking that on to set up that third-party culprit defense in a way that's so highly convoluted as in this case. And the last piece, Nicole, this to me is the biggest problem, and we're not talking about it that much. It's that she was intoxicated, blew .13. So she was intoxicated at the time. So saying that she wasn't the one who did it, she didn't hit him, well, there's going to be an argument that perhaps she just doesn't recall exactly what happened that night.
Right, because we know alcohol certainly can impact memory. Obviously, anytime there's a murder, emotions run high. This involves a police officer, so we know there's a lot that goes along with that. You know, you just mentioned the defense hurdles. What about the prosecution? What will be the biggest hurdle for the prosecution?
Well, there's a federal investigation into this case relating to the way that the investigation was conducted. So part of the defense argument here is that all the eyes were on Karen Read right from the beginning, that, you know, because there was this relationship in the police department between Boston PD, the owners of the house, and the investigating officers, that a lot of things were not done that normally would be done. There was no search inside the house, no search warrants executed. So the failures of that investigation are likely to come back to bite the prosecution because, of course, they have the burden. Now, flip to this federal investigation. So this is a state court case. The federal investigation of 3,000 pages of investigative materials relating to the way this investigation was conducted and questions about this broken taillight, where it came from, is that consistent with the evidence that was collected? So whenever you have failures in an investigation, it can impact the prosecution's case. And you know the defense is going to rely heavily on the fact the feds are looking into this because there was impropriety. There were problems with it. And all the defense has to do is raise reasonable doubt. They don't have to prove anything. Right. So that's going to be a huge component of the case, and a complicated one as well.
Yeah, this is definitely one to watch. Trial attorney Misty Marris, thank you.
Thank you.